The fruits of social relationships are all around us. Every bridge, every park, every surgery, every symphony is the product of human beings who came together to do something greater than any one of them could have done alone. Our big brains give us the skill to cooperate, but that doesn't change the fact that we are animals. And like most other animals, we sometimes choose conflict over cooperation and dominance over diplomacy. Almost every social species has its bullies, and sadly, human beings are no exception. I traveled to Cape Coral, Florida, to meet Debbie Johnston. She and her teenage son, Jeff, had learned about bullying the hard way.
This one was taken Christmas time there with Mickey Mouse. And I guess this one's a favorite. At the edge of the volcano in Hawaii. He was an extremely happy kid. He was smart, creative, described a lot by a lot of people as just an old soul.
It's my 9th birthday in this picture, and one of my guests was Jeffrey. He was like the life of the party. Like, everybody loved Jeffrey.
Well, I first met him in 7th grade language arts class, and that was, because of him, probably the most fun class I've ever been in.
He seems to be a lovely and loved child. So what happened?
He was head over heels for a little girl in his class. And that's when the telephone calls began. This boy in Jeff's class called the house, and he was calling Jeff a stalker and threatening him to keep away from her and telling him that everybody didn't like him. This bully just had a unique capacity to go right for the spot that hurt.
We want to know about your experiences, and particularly about experiences with other kids in school.
For more than a decade, Dr. Jana Juvonen has studied bullying, why it happens, and what can be done about it. She and her colleagues have been tracking 2,300 children in Los Angeles as they move from middle through high school.
Who are the coolest kids in your grade? That's number 3. And by cool, we mean popular.
Essentially, the bully wants to intimidate, humiliate the victim in the presence of many others. The bully needs the audience. What we find in our research is that bullies are actually considered popular. Often they are considered the cool kids, so they have social status. Other species do that too. That is, if you think about monkey troops, who's the dominant leader? It's the one who has shown everybody else that I'm the powerful, I'm the mighty. So what we have learned about
Juvonen's research has overturned a popular misconception, namely, that being bullied builds character.
We have learned during the past decade that these experiences of bullying don't help kids develop thicker skin, but often thinner skin.
Jeff Johnston was relentlessly bullied for over a year and was extremely fragile when he and his friends set out to design an online game.
We've spent weeks and weeks on the game, and the password is given out to me, Jeff, and a few of me and Jeff's closest friends. And one of our friends, I guess, gave it to him, gave it to the bully.
He got on there, deleted everything, and then posts like really mean things on there about Jeff.
Jeff's a fag, Jeff's this, Jeff's that, Jeff should die, blah, 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 just horrible things.
That whole, section of Jeff's life, it was almost like it wasn't erased, it was amputated.
Although Jeff's tormentors went to unusual lengths, this type of humiliation is all too common. About 1/3 of all students between the ages of 12 and 18 report being bullied every year.
Does everyone understand what mob mentality means?
So what can be done to stop it? In Brooklyn, New York, Blessed Sacrament School is dealing with a bullying problem of its own.
When I started here, I would say teasing was done on a daily basis, and it would lead up to weekly interviews of bullying. Internet bullying started. 3 girls were actually involved in it. They were on MySpace, and one of the girls found out the other girl's password, and the other kids on MySpace were going to her page and reading all these horrible things about her.
You know, emotions are great, but unless they're handled well, they're not great.
The school turned to Yale psychologist Dr. Mark Brackett. His emotional literacy program trains teachers so that they can help students understand the emotional impact of bullying and respond to it more effectively.
Our goal is to teach children how to identify how they're feeling. Frustrated, giving children the words to describe their feelings. What other sort of emotions might be relevant there?
Rage.
Rage. We see emotional literacy as sort of a protective factor. The most important thing that our work does is teaching children how to handle themselves better. So for example, you know, they're in a classroom and there's a bully, and the bully makes them feel bad about themselves. What strategies do they have? Because when they can identify how they're feeling, it gives them the opportunity to ask for help.
I was always taught in my education courses of don't smile in class till January. You don't want to give them the emotional part of it. Now this guy's coming in telling me, hey, let's show your emotions, share them. These kids all have these emotions, and they're just frustrated because they don't know how to express them. I implement an emotional word every 2 weeks. Empathy, relating to and understanding another person's feeling. And then I asked the students, can you tell me of a time you felt this emotion?
I had a best friend. Everyone made fun of her because she was different. I felt so bad for her.
Giving students an emotional vocabulary can help them cope with bullying. But research suggests that the most effective way to eliminate it is to teach students to stand up for each other. But this only works when school authorities send a clear message that bullying will not be tolerated.
She didn't call me, she didn't tell me she was sick.
We know from playground observation studies that if another kid intervenes, bullying stops within seconds. We also know that very few kids are willing to do that and do that. So what we need to do is to try to address the bystanders, the onlookers. By being somewhat passive, just maybe occasionally smiling, they're encouraging the bully and bullying behavior. But moreover, we have to provide support that enables them to gain the confidence to go and challenge the bully or just stand up for the victim.
I don't feel that there is a bullying problem here in the school I'm at today. Students treat each other with common social courtesies. They're empathetic, they're sympathetic, they're respectful. They're just generally nicer to one another.
In the case of Jeff Johnston, his mom went to the school authorities. The teacher talked to Jeff's class about bullying, with little impact.
We thought we were doing the right thing, but it only made it worse.
What went wrong? Why is the intervention by the school so ineffective?
You know, it's just one child's word against the other. Even though you know the truth, because you can't prove it, you can't stop it. The school didn't have the power to intervene with requiring students to get counseling.
As the bullying continued, Jeff became increasingly isolated, withdrawing from his relationships with the very people who might have helped him.
By the end of 8th grade year, he was a very quiet kid. He would just kind of sit in the classroom and not say anything to anyone.
When nobody intervenes, kids are actually interpreting that as everybody approves of what's going on. And that creates a false norm for the group, where people are even more reluctant to go and try to defend or help the victim because they think everybody's accepting of this.
Jeff was never the same. That just inner core of happiness that just shone like a light from him was just gone. We had plans. The War of the Worlds was opening the next day, and he was actually really excited about it. He loved science fiction, and next morning I went to wake him up. When we opened the bedroom door, we saw him hanging in the closet. He was already gone.
All that was going through my mind is he's gone and he's never gonna come back. It was horrible.
I remember screaming, like, really loud. It's the most devastating thing I've ever been through in my entire life to this day.
His last words to his family and friends, he said, "Don't blame anyone. The world can't change." And all I could think of is, we can't let this happen again. We have to change it. And so I took all the evidence and all the statements to the detectives who investigated the case, and they said, well, there's no doubt about what happened. The trouble is it's not against the law. I was angry, probably angrier than I've ever been. And I fired off an email to our Governor, Jeb Bush. And Governor Bush, he wrote, "We need a law."
Debbie Johnston accomplished her emotional 3-year mission this week with the passage of Jeffrey's Law. With state funding on the line, it requires schools to adopt proven anti-bullying rules.
Jeffrey's Law takes the burden of proof away from victims and requires teachers and administrators to take real steps to stop any reported case of bullying.
This bill not only empowers schools to protect children from bullying, it requires schools to protect them from bullying. The most important thing is it reassures that child that everyone at the school is firmly on their side and committed to their protection.
In Jeff's last note, he said, "Nothing ever changes the world." You proved him wrong about that.
Yeah. That's what we set out to do.